into Study Smarter's top tips for presenting your research at conferences. This screencast will help you to decide what kind of conference may be the best place for your research and the type of presentation you want to give. It will help you to plan for success by carefully considering your key message, your audience, and the structure of your presentation. It will also help you to impress your audience so that they're interested in your research and want to know more. In order to find a suitable conference, you can sign up for mailing lists within your discipline or use search engines or portals that are specifically focused on finding the right conference. You'll often hear about a conference through your own networks, particularly through your supervisor or other research students. Local and state conferences often look for papers from honours and postgraduate students who have recently begun their research journey. National conferences generally operate at a more rigorous and professional level and are more likely to accept papers from candidates who are further along in their research studies or from professionals who have completed their PhDs. International conferences tend to go that little bit further and aim to attract researchers and professionals from around the world. Honours and postgraduate students may also attend these conferences, particularly when they have something unique to contribute to the field. There are many reasons why it's beneficial to present at conferences. Presenting your research forces you to clarify your thinking about the what, how, and why of your research. Conferences also allow you to receive feedback on your research from other people in your field. Attending conferences enables you to keep up to date with developments in your discipline and the latest research findings. Conferences can also inspire your research, as staying connected and establishing a sense of community can enrich your research ideas and help sustain motivation. Many networking opportunities present themselves at conferences, so it's valuable to connect with prospective employers, publishers, and collaborators wherever possible. Once you have chosen a conference to present at, you need to decide on the type of presentation you want to give. A full paper requires you to submit a paper beforehand. The length of the presentation can vary, but is usually followed by question time. The emphasis of workshops is on their practical nature. They should give participants the opportunity to experience an activity or do something and ask you questions. Posters are typically less stressful and allow you to engage one-on-one with interested listeners. You display a poster of your work and answer questions at certain times. While it is assumed that people have read your discussion paper, a summary may be provided, followed by an in-depth discussion or defence of the issues, questions and ideas raised in the paper. Roundtable sessions can vary from conference to conference, but generally attendees are given an opportunity to participate in discussions and share ideas on a particular theme. If you are submitting a paper to a conference, there are several things you need to consider before getting your paper accepted. You need a catchy title that clearly indicates what the presentation will do. Your title needs to entice others to attend your presentation. Most conferences run parallel sessions, so your presentation will be competing with several others that run at the same time. You also need a clear, succinct and attractive abstract that relates to the conference's themes. Make sure that you stick to the word limit that the conference organiser sets. It is also vital that you meet the deadline. Late submissions suggest poor planning and preparation. In order to maximise your chance of getting your paper accepted, follow the conference organiser's instructions exactly. Once your paper has been accepted, it's time to plan for success. Successful conference presentations generally contain 3 key things that should be carefully considered during planning. Your audience need to have a clear sense of your presentation's purpose and your take-home message. Creating a rapport with your audience and making them feel involved in the delivery of your presentation can also optimise its success. A successful presentation should also have a logical structure that is easy for the audience to follow. You need to consider the best way to organise your material around your key message. There is a big difference between a presentation that is about something and one that does something. In order for the audience to value your key message, they need to know the reason why you're presenting it to them. A presentation that has a purpose might prove an argument, highlight a particular finding, persuade the audience of something, or inform them about the latest trends. When your presentation does something, it is much easier to know where to start, what to emphasise, and how to conclude. While it is difficult to predict the exact nature of your audience, the following types of questions may assist your preparation. What institutions are they likely to come from? Local, national, international? What disciplines are they likely to come from? Are the audience likely to be experts in a specific area, experts in a general field, and are they likely to know anything about your research? What audience members are likely to be important to you, and who will you target? Once you have considered your audience, you need to plan from their perspective. Ask yourself, what will they be interested in? What might they already know? And what might help them learn or convince them of your position? Successful planning should also consider ways to actively involve the audience. You might begin with a hook that attracts your audience by giving them a problem to think about, stating a remarkable fact, or sharing a story or personal anecdote. Asking rhetorical questions as you move through your presentation can involve your audience by stimulating their thought processes. Another method for engaging your audience is to use a conversational tone rather than a formal academic tone. A successful presentation will prioritise the key message through its organisation. You can create a strong opening by telling your audience your most interesting point at the start of your presentation. Consider how the use of a hook may make your message easier to understand, more memorable, or more persuasive. Ensure your supporting points contribute to the key message and that you move smoothly from one point to the next. Smooth transitions help the audience to follow the ideas being presented and see relationships between those ideas. Consider the type of logical sequence that will make it easiest for the listener to follow your presentation. For example, chronological order, problem solution, or theory practice. Finally, you want the audience to have a clear sense of your key take-home message and to take it home. That is, to remember it distinctively at the end of the conference despite the many sessions they attend. In order to remember and value your key message, the audience needs to come away with a good answer to the question, so what? You may only have 10 to 15 minutes to present, followed by some question time. So don't give a presentation based on the structure of your paper unless asked. Trying to get through the content of a paper will lead to a rushed presentation that does no parts justice. Rather, tell the audience what you're going to say at the start. That is, state your argument. It's not necessary to reveal your key message at the end. In fact, you may have lost the audience's attention by this point. In the body of your presentation, you say it by expanding and justifying your key message or argument. You might present some key findings or touch on the highly robust, well-considered methodology of your research so that the audience can really trust what you've found. You might even get into some of the literature, but instead of it being used as boring background information, use the literature to promote your research and show its significance. The conclusion should reinforce your key message so that no one is in any doubt as to what it is. Don't introduce any new ideas at the end. You may feel that you've skipped past many important aspects of your research, but if the audience wants further information, such as your sample demographics or the theory used, they can ask you during question time. Now let's consider the delivery of your key message and ways to impress your audience. A common way to incorporate visual aids is to use presentation software such as PowerPoint or Keynote to develop slides, but the following points should be kept in mind. Visual aids should reinforce your verbal message but not repeat it verbatim. Keep the text to a minimum by avoiding long sentences and think about what each slide is trying to do. Consider how diagrams, graphs and other images can be used instead of words to support what you're saying. Your graphics should be bold and clear. Make sure your visuals are large enough to be seen by everyone. Somewhere between 28 and 36 font size is usually best depending on the size of the venue, and use a simple, easy to read lettering style such as Arial. Avoid unnecessary slide or text transitions as it's distracting and slow to watch letters appear one at a time. And be prepared for technology to fail and have a backup plan. A presentation can be enhanced by the use of visual aids, but it's important to remember that you are still the main communicator of your message. Your voice must be clear and distinct. Use changes in pace and pauses to emphasize information and to allow the audience to consider your ideas. To avoid a monotone voice, try to imagine having a conversation with your audience. This will help you to incorporate higher and lower tones. Body language also plays an important role in effectively communicating your message, so carefully consider your appearance, gestures, facial expressions and eye contact when practicing your presentation. As many people are totally oblivious to their body language, it's valuable to practice in front of real people and seek feedback prior to the actual presentation. If you're prone to getting nervous, and most of us are, you can get those butterflies to fly in formation by being well prepared, by practicing and receiving feedback, knowing the room and equipment if possible, and arriving early on the day of the presentation. Projecting confidence through appropriate body posture, voice and movement can also help to mask those nerves. Finally, you may find it useful to memorize the first few opening sentences of your presentation. This will allow you to relax into the presentation and allow the physiological reaction of fear to begin to settle down without having to think too much about what you need to say. Focus upon your breathing, watch your pace, and realize that the audience want to see you succeed. Part of your preparation should be to preempt what questions may be asked. After your final slide, you might have a few extra ones with information that you anticipate may be required to deal with audience questions. This makes you look well prepared and gives you the chance to provide a thorough answer because you've got the visuals to match. During question time, it's useful to paraphrase each question asked to ensure that you have understood it correctly and so that others in the room have heard it too. If a question is off topic, try to bring it back to your own field. Not all questions may be relevant, so don't get drawn into other people's areas of interest just to keep them happy. Restate your focus if necessary. If you can't answer a question, say so. You can acknowledge the point being made and suggest ways of carrying out further research. After your presentation, ensure that you jot down the relevant points and issues raised during question time and make a note of the people who seemed interested in your research. Make sure that you continue to connect with people who seemed interested in your research and/or who you had initially planned to talk to at the conference. Reflect on how your presentation went. What were its strengths and what might you improve on next time? Also, consider any special outcomes that might be negotiated with other participants, such as co-work initiatives and publications. We hope you've enjoyed this Study Smarter screencast, and remember, you can make the most of presenting your research by finding a suitable conference and presentation type, planning for success by carefully considering your key message, your audience and the structure of your presentation, and impressing your audience so that they're interested in your research and want to know more.